Hi everyone, and welcome back to another how-to video. Today is a very special one. It's a lasagna. Now the only reason it's a bit special is because it's actually the wife's brother's favourite dish. So this is for you, Simon. So first you want to do is heat a pan with some oil. Then you want to take a white onion and dice it down small. And I'm even chucking in some mushrooms as well, again cut them nice and small. You want to fry them off. Now you want to fry these off for about a minute, just to give them a little bit of colour. Once the onion starts to colour, we can then add the mincemeat. This is about a 500 gram pack, so that can all go in. Now, you want to mix this in nicely and get it so it's nice and brown. This could take about 2 or 3 minutes to cook down. And then we can move on to the next stage. Now it's been about 3 minutes, so the mincemeat is nicely browned. Now, if you get meat with high fat content, then I suggest draining it off because you don't want that in your lasagna. But this is quite a low fat, so you don't need to drain it. So first we do is just turn it down to a medium heat, and we add some tomato puree. Now this one is tomato puree with garlic, but you can just have plain tomato puree. And you want about a tablespoon. And then you want to add a tin of chopped tomatoes. This is a 400 gram tin. You want to stir that around a little bit. Right. Now, once that's all combined together, then we can add some nice funky flavours. I've made up a beef stock. Now this is just 1 cube with about 100 ml of water. I can just go straight in. Add some balsamic vinegar. Quite a bit of this because it gives it a nice flavour. Stir that around. Finally, I'm just going to add about a teaspoon of sugar. Again, it's just because chopped tomatoes can be very sour, and with the balsamic vinegar as well, it just sweetens it up a little bit. You don't want to sweeten it up too much because then it'll just ruin the dish. And then finally, just a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt. And then I'm going to chuck in some basil, and I've also got some Italian herb spices. This is just like a Italian mix that you can get from most supermarkets. It's quite a nice seasoning to put inside the dish. Put quite a bit of them there. And then that's it. What you then want to do is now you want to leave that on a low to medium heat for a good sort of 10 to 15 minutes. Just helps cook out all the flavours and make sure that the meat is definitely cooked. And while this is on the go, we can then move on to doing the white sauce. So with the white sauce, it's nice and simple again. So you just melt some butter in a pan, and then once that's melted, you add some flour. And this is to make a roux. So melt down that butter. That's about 50 grams of butter I've used, but you can use less or more depending on how much you need to make. And then the flour depends entirely on how much butter you have, because you need it to make almost like a pastry looking. Right. That's that. Also at this stage, I chuck in a crushed up vegetable cube just to give the sauce a nice flavour. milk. Again, add milk very slowly to a high heat and just stir it in. Now you want to stir it quite regularly, purely because you don't want there to be any lumps, and because it will burn if you take your eye off of it. Now this will probably take about 2 minutes till you've got the sauce to the consistency you want. Right, once your sauce is at a nice consistency, then turn the heat right down to like the lowest. That's just to keep it warm and to help cook out the flour. Now, I go a little bit funky. Put a little pinch of cheddar in there. It can be any cheese, to be fair. I'm just using cheddar, but you can use mozzarella. Again, mozzarella's really quite a nice cheese, especially with lasagna. And then I also put in about half a teaspoon of English mustard. Again, gives it a nice colour and a lovely flavour. And that is your sauce. Now that is pretty much ready to go. Obviously, once you add the cheese, if it does go a little bit thicker, you can always pour in some more milk just to thin it out a little bit. But that's it. Now you can keep it on the heat, like I said, on a low heat, until your bolognese is done. Just obviously make sure to keep stirring it, or you can take it off the heat, and then when you need to do it, just warm it back up again, because it'll be easier to pour on top of your lasagna. So yeah, we will leave that to one side for a minute, and once the bolognese mix is done, we'll piece together the lasagna. So what you want to do now is just top that up with water, just so it covers the tomato and the onion mix. And I've chucked in a vegetable stock cube just to enhance the flavour. So leave that to simmer for about an hour, and then we can come back to that and puree it down, ready to eat. Right, so it's been about 15-20 minutes, so it should be about time that the bolognese mix is done. Now at this stage you want to just taste it and make sure all the seasoning's correct, and then we can start building. Right, so first what I do is I put a layer of the white sauce on the bottom of the dish, just so that this nice sauce runs all the way through the lasagna. And once that coats the bottom, then you want to put in the bolognese. Now you want to spread this evenly, because obviously depending on how many layers you want to do, depends on how much you want to put in each, but you want to put enough so that it covers each layer, but there's enough to do multiple layers. So we'll put a load in. There we go. Once you've got that spread nice and evenly over the bottom of your dish, then you can put the lasagna sheets in. Now I always find that sometimes the dish isn't as square as the lasagna, so I just break a little bit of the corner off just so that it can sit nicely in the dish. And it doesn't matter if you have bits everywhere, because it's homemade and it's going to taste just as good. So that's it. Right, that's the first layer. So then basically it's just a simple repeat for the next layer. So yeah, we'll just do that. So I'm now at the third and final layer of the mincemeat. So I just want to spread that again nice and evenly, and then we are almost ready to top off and finish the lasagna. Spread that out. And final layer of pasta. And then top off with the remainder of the white sauce. There we go. And then one final bit is to just add a topping of cheese, and then you can put a few herbs on top as well. Cover it with cheese. A little bit more of these herbs and tomato. Now you don't have to have this spice if you don't want to. A little bit of basil will work perfectly fine. And there you have it. That is that, ready to go in the oven. So put it on a moderate sort of 160 to 170 electric oven. Put it in the middle shelf and just cook it nice and slowly. Anywhere from sort of like 45 to an hour. Just so that the pasta softens, because it is quite firm and obviously it goes in dry, so you haven't pre-cooked it, so it needs to cook in the dish. So yeah, so we'll stick that in the oven and then we'll come back to that in about an hour's time. Right, so it's been about an hour, so we can check it and hopefully it's ready to go. There you go. As you can see, cheese has melted nicely on top, nice little bit of colour, and the pasta should have cooked nicely through. So yeah, now it's just a case of portioning it up, serving it with whatever you like, some salad, or I've been a little bit cheeky, I've got some garlic bread in the oven to go with it. But that's it, so it's ready to go. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Later.